The call to arms. The Earth had always been a peaceful place. At least that was what people thought. The world had its problems, but nothing too dangerous, at least not until now. One quiet afternoon, everything changed. A strange, unfamiliar signal was detected by the world's most advanced satellites. At first, no one thought much of it. It could be a mistake, a glitch in the system, a random anomaly from space. But the signal didn't stop. It grew louder, more urgent, more purposeful. It was coming from a fleet of ships, massive and unlike anything humans had ever seen. The ships appeared at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, a dark shadow in the sky. No one knew who they were, where they came from, or what they wanted. But one thing was certain: the message they sent was clear. We do not come in peace. Surrender your world, or we will take it by force. The world stood still. Governments scrambled to respond. They made calls, sent out messages, tried everything they could think of to make contact. But no answer came. The alien ship stayed in orbit, silent, watching. And then they made their move. Their fleet descended from the sky, sending shockwaves through Earth's defenses. The people of Earth had no plan, no weapon powerful enough to fight back. The aliens had technology that Earth couldn't even begin to understand. Panic spread across the globe. Cities went dark. Countries tried to negotiate, but no words could stop the advance of the alien forces. There was only one thing left to do. In the dead of night, the governments of Earth did what no one ever expected. They made a call to the shadows, to a hidden force of warriors who had been living among them for years. The world's last hope, a group of ruthless and highly skilled mercenaries known only as the apex predators. These warriors weren't diplomats. They weren't scientists or negotiators. They were killers, trained from birth to fight, survive, and conquer. They didn't speak much, but they didn't need to. They had been created for moments like this, when humanity was backed into a corner. When there was no room left for talk, they were the ones who would fight. The apex predators were not ordinary humans. They had been genetically enhanced, each one a combination of human strength and animal instincts. Some were bigger, faster, stronger than any soldier in history. Others had skills that seemed almost supernatural. They had been waiting for something like this, a fight that would push them to their limits. The government didn't waste time. They summoned the apex predators, gave them their orders, and sent them to the front lines. As they suited up in their combat armor, the world held its breath. These were Earth's last hope, the ones who would either save humanity or ensure its doom. But one thing was clear: Earth wasn't sending diplomats this time. They were sending hunters. The first wave of the apex predators stepped onto the battlefield, their eyes cold, their expressions unreadable. They were ready to do what had to be done. As the first shots were fired, the Earth's fight for survival began. Who are the apex predators? The first time most people heard the term apex predators, they thought it was a metaphor, a phrase used to describe the toughest of humanity, survivors, soldiers, or even corporate titans. But they had no idea how wrong they were. The apex predators weren't just people. They were a force, a unique creation, and humanity's last line of defense. When the unimaginable happened, they had been hiding in plain sight for years. No one knew their names. No one knew their faces. They weren't on any official roster, and no records existed that could link them to any government program or military operation. They were the result of something much older, an ancient secret, project that had been lost to history, a project born from the ashes of past wars, failures, and forgotten research. But they had been waiting for a moment like this. The apex predators were not merely soldiers. They were living weapons, each one individually engineered to be the perfect combination of human ingenuity and primal instinct. It wasn't just about strength, it was about pushing human limitations beyond what anyone thought possible. It started with the Reaper, the leader, a figure so legendary that his name was whispered in the darkest corners of the military world. His mind was sharp, his body a masterpiece of design, each bone and muscle honed for the sole purpose of survival and destruction. His instincts, were unmatched. The man was a predator, but not in the sense of hunting animals. He hunted death. His team? A collection of the world's most dangerous humans, each chosen for their unique skills. The Fang was the next in line, but don't be fooled by the simple name. He was a close combat expert, so deadly that he could strike before his opponents even knew he was there. His blade never missed. He was the embodiment of speed and precision, always 2 steps ahead of anyone foolish enough to face him. When he moved, it was as if the world slowed down, the air thick with the anticipation of his strike. Every fight was over before it even began. Then there was the ghost. No one saw him coming, and no one saw him leave. He was a sniper, but calling him that didn't do him justice. He could pick off targets from miles away, blending into the environment with the ease of a shadow. He was the unseen terror, always there but never quite within reach. When the ghost struck, he didn't just kill, he sent a message. He showed the enemy that no matter how far they thought they could run, he was always watching. And finally, the beast, the walking force of nature. He didn't fight with finesse or grace, he fought with raw power. The aliens would learn this the hard way. He was built to withstand any attack, and when he hit, it was like being crushed by the earth itself. Tanks and armored vehicles couldn't stop him. Neither could alien weaponry. His strength was beyond human limits, and he loved every second of the chaos it caused. Each predator had their own unique set of skills, their own set of rules. They were designed to be humanity's ultimate weapons, swift, unrelenting, and adaptable. And unlike any soldier the aliens had ever encountered, they didn't just fight to win. They fought to hunt, to conquer, to destroy any threat that came their way. When they were unleashed, the battlefield became their domain. The apex predators had no allegiances. They didn't fight for countries or ideals. They fought for survival, for the thrill of the hunt. And right now, Earth was their territory. As the alien ships drew nearer, Earth's governments knew there was only one choice left: to let the apex predators loose, to give them the command to engage. The world wasn't sending diplomats to plead for mercy. No, Earth had decided to send something much deadlier: humans who had been molded by war, honed by survival, and fueled by a single purpose: to eliminate the threat. The apex predators were no longer a secret. They were Earth's first and last line of defense, and they were about to show the universe what it meant to face humanity's ultimate weapon. The unveiling, the night the apex predators were unleashed, was like no other. The stars above seemed distant, as if even the universe itself was holding its breath. The world had seen what the alien ships could do, and humanity had already realized the terrifying truth. Diplomacy wasn't an option. This wasn't a negotiation. This was war, pure and simple. And so, when the apex predators stepped forward, it wasn't just a fight that began. It was a statement. The government had kept them hidden for years, ever since the world's first experiments with genetic enhancement. But now Earth had no choice but to reveal what it had been hiding: humans who had been sculpted, tested, and perfected for this very moment. In the shadows, they had waited. Trained in secret, each predator had mastered skills no ordinary soldier could hope to understand. Their bodies were honed for efficiency, their minds sharp enough to outthink any opponent. They were more than soldiers. They were living weapons. As the predators marched toward the battlefield, the atmosphere shifted. Their black suits shimmered in the light, their weapons glinting with an almost unnatural precision. These weren't flashy, colorful uniforms. No, these suits were designed for one purpose: to kill. The human-made armor was built with alien technology scavenged from old battles, fused with Earth's most advanced combat systems. They were a perfect blend of style and deadly function, and then at the forefront walked the Reaper. His presence alone was enough to make anyone pause. The man was a myth, a living legend. There was something terrifying about him, something primal. He didn't need to speak. His very posture sent a clear message to the approaching alien delegation: "You've made a grave mistake." When the aliens saw the predators, there was no surprise in their eyes, only curiosity, and, perhaps, a hint of fear. They had expected resistance, sure, but not this. Not humans who wore the silence of death as their armor. The Reaper approached the leader of the alien force, his steps heavy but deliberate. The alien leader stood tall, surrounded by an entourage of soldiers that looked every bit as formidable as they were. But there was one glaring difference. The aliens weren't ready for what the predators had in store. In a voice that was low and cold, the Reaper spoke. "We are Earth's response. We do not negotiate. We do not surrender. We fight. And you will learn what it means to face predators." The air around them seemed to freeze, as if the world itself was watching. The alien leader raised an eyebrow, perhaps questioning the boldness of these humans who thought they could stand up to an advanced alien race. But deep down, the leader knew something the others did not. Earth's predators were not like anything they had encountered before. The aliens had underestimated their enemy. The battle was about to begin. The humans had sent no diplomats. They hadn't called for peace talks or sent pleas for mercy. No, Earth had sent hunters. And now, they were about to show the universe that even the most powerful alien forces had underestimated what humanity was truly capable of. First contact. The sky above Earth was a dark canvas, dotted with the cold glow of distant stars and the sharp, silent presence of alien ships that filled the horizon. From the ground, it was impossible to understand the scale of the battle that was about to unfold. The cities below were like sleeping giants, unaware of the storm above. But the apex predators, they were awake. As the first shots rang out from the alien ships, it was like the world itself shook. The loud crackle of energy weapons echoed through the air, and the ground trembled beneath the force of the assault. The alien fleet had opened fire, unleashing a barrage of advanced plasma and kinetic blasts aimed directly at Earth's defenses. But they were wrong to think this would be an easy conquest. They hadn't anticipated what came next. The apex predators, each a living weapon, sprang into action with terrifying speed. In the blink of an eye, the Reaper and his team were on the move, leaping from cover to cover, blending into the environment like shadows. They moved with a precision that made it look effortless, as if they had been born for this moment. There were no orders shouted, no commands given, just a seamless unity between them. They were hunters, and they knew the terrain better than anyone. The Fang was the first to engage. With a speed that blurred the line between human and beast, he tore through the alien lines with a series of swift, brutal strikes. His enemies didn't even see him coming. 1 second, they were standing tall, their weapons raised, and the next second, they were crumpling to the ground, unable to react. Every motion was calculated, every strike a lethal point of contact. He was a blur, a ghost in the battlefield, and to the aliens it was nothing short of terrifying. Meanwhile, the ghost found his perch high above, the perfect vantage point. With the steady hand of a surgeon, he locked onto targets miles away, picking them off one by one with his sniper rifle. The aliens had no idea where the shots were coming from. They only knew they were being picked off, with no chance to return fire. The predator was like a phantom in the night, vanishing with each shot, reappearing somewhere else to strike again. The beast was everywhere. The ground shook with each of his thunderous steps, and the air seemed to crackle with tension as he charged through the alien ranks. He was the physical embodiment of destruction, a walking juggernaut. His enemies didn't stand a chance. Tanks, shields, weapons, all fell before him. The aliens had thought their technology could crush anything in its path. But nothing could withstand the beast's raw power. His fist became the hammer of Earth's wrath, pounding through alien armor and crushing the very idea that they had come to conquer. But it wasn't just brute force. The predators were more than just killers. They were predators in every sense of the word. They hunted not just to kill, but to dismantle the alien strategy. They learned quickly, adapted to the aliens' tactics, and found their weaknesses. The alien army, though vast and powerful, was disorganized in the face of such unpredictable resistance. Their command structure faltered as their warriors were systematically picked apart. As the battle raged on, the alien leaders began to realize the truth. They were fighting something they couldn't comprehend. These weren't soldiers. These were hunters who had mastered the art of war in ways the aliens had never imagined. The predators fought like predators, not like soldiers or generals. They didn't fight to win. They fought to hunt, to destroy, to claim what was theirs, the eye. First contact wasn't just a battle. It was a statement. The aliens had come with their weapons, their ships, their technology. But the apex predators had something far more dangerous: Earth's primal will to survive. And the message was clear. Earth wasn't going to surrender. Turning the tables, the alien forces, once so confident in their superiority, now found themselves scrambling. The first wave of battle had been more than they anticipated. Their ships, powerful and technologically advanced, were failing to deliver the swift victory they had envisioned. Earth's apex predators had struck like a swarm of locusts, fast, unpredictable, and relentless. And they were learning, adapting, and evolving with every passing second. The aliens had underestimated what they were up against. They thought they could come to Earth, overpower its defenses with sheer firepower, and take what they wanted. But Earth's predators weren't soldiers. They weren't mercenaries either. They were hunters, and the world had just unleashed its deadliest species. The Reaper stood tall amidst the chaos, his eyes scanning the battlefield. He had always been a master tactician, but even he had to admit, this was unlike anything he had ever faced. The aliens, who were once the hunters, were now the hunted. They had brought an arsenal of advanced weapons, but the predators were quicker, smarter, and more ruthless. Still, the aliens weren't going down without a fight. As the predators continued their assault, the alien fleet responded with force. They shifted tactics, adapting their strategies to counter the unpredictable nature of Earth's warriors. New ships arrived, massive in size, equipped with more advanced weapons, and the aliens themselves began to deploy ground forces that were unlike anything Earth had seen. These soldiers weren't the same mindless drones the predators had faced before. They were warriors, evolved beings engineered for combat, with an array of abilities that pushed even the apex predators to their limits. But the Reaper was not one to be easily outmaneuvered. He gathered his team, issuing new orders with a cold and calculated voice. We're not just fighting their army, we're fighting their minds. It's time we turn the tide. The battle turned into a game of wits, of outsmarting the enemy. The apex predators began to anticipate the alien moves, using their superior knowledge of Earth's terrain and guerrilla tactics to their advantage. They set traps, misdirected the enemy, and hit them where they were least prepared. Meanwhile, the Fang and the Ghost worked together in perfect harmony. The Ghost had been taking out high-ranking alien officers from afar, but now it was time for the Fang to get up close. They knew the aliens were relying heavily on their commanders to coordinate their strikes, so with lightning speed, the Fang infiltrated the alien command centers, wiping out key figures in moments. Their communications were disrupted, their forces scattered. Every time the aliens thought they had a grasp on the situation, Earth's predators pulled the rug out from under them. The beast was a wrecking ball in the chaos. The aliens' most elite forces tried to engage him, but it was like hitting a wall. No matter what weapons they threw at him, the beast took them head-on, shrugging off their attacks with a grin on his face. He was a living tank, and he wasn't slowing down. As the alien soldiers realized they couldn't break him, panic began to set in. Their elite soldiers, who once felt invincible, were now questioning everything. For the first time since the war began, the alien leaders began to panic. Earth's warriors were unpredictable, and no amount of technology could prepare them for the ferocity of human nature. They had come to conquer, but they hadn't accounted for the one thing that separated Earth from every other planet in the galaxy: the will to survive. As the apex predators continued to turn the tide, Earth's forces rallied, gaining ground and confidence. The aliens, who had expected an easy victory, now realized that the war was far from over. They had underestimated Earth, and the tables were turning in humanity's favor. But the battle was far from won. The aliens had a final card to play, a new weapon, something even the apex predators hadn't anticipated. As the last of the alien reinforcements arrived, the question remained, would Earth's hunters be able to adapt once again, or was this just the calm before the real storm? The showdown. The battle had raged for days. Cities were crumbling beneath the relentless assault of alien firepower, and humanity had been pushed to the brink. But the apex predators had turned the tide. Slowly, steadily, the aliens' confidence had turned to doubt. Earth's predators were relentless, striking from the shadows using every trick of war that humanity had mastered over the centuries. But even as the predators made their mark, they knew this war was far from over. The aliens had been learning, evolving, adapting with each skirmish. Now they had something new, something that made the air itself seem to thrum with danger. The heart of their fleet, an enormous ship, descended from the clouds. It wasn't like the others, it was colossal, towering over the city skyline, its sheer size casting a shadow that covered entire districts. The atmosphere grew tense. Even the Reaper felt it. He'd faced countless enemies, but this was different. This wasn't just another alien vessel. This was their ultimate weapon, their final push to crush humanity. The new leader of the alien forces stood at the forefront of the ship, towering above the others, radiating an aura of authority and cold malice. This wasn't a typical soldier. This was something more. Taller, more muscular, and with an appearance that almost seemed otherworldly. The new commander's presence alone was enough to send shivers down the spine of even the most seasoned warriors. His eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and his voice, when he spoke, vibrated the air itself. "Your resistance is futile. Earth will be ours," he declared, his tone icy, filled with unshakable confidence. His words seemed to echo across the battlefield, a declaration of dominance, but the Reaper wasn't intimidated. He'd heard it all before. Alien threats, cosmic boasts, declarations of inevitable victory. None of it mattered. This was Earth's fight, and Earth wasn't going down without a hell of a fight. With a gesture, he motioned to his team. Prepare for the final hunt. The apex predators weren't just facing an army anymore. They were up against an enemy that had been genetically enhanced beyond anything they had ever encountered. This wasn't just an alien invasion. It was an invasion of the mind, of physiology, and of unimaginable power. The alien commander was a hybrid, an apex being in his own right, and he wielded powers that no one on Earth had ever seen before. The moment the order was given, the fight became personal. The Reaper charged toward the alien commander, the ground shaking beneath his feet with every step. The two warriors locked eyes, human and alien, predator and prey. It wasn't just a battle of strength, it was a test of wills, a contest to see who would bend first. The Fang darted through the battlefield, his movements a blur as he took down alien soldiers with surgical precision. The Ghost, high above, was ready, waiting for the perfect shot to strike at the alien commander's weaknesses. But the aliens were evolving faster than anyone anticipated. They had studied Earth's tactics, and now they adapted with a terrifying ferocity. The Beast, fists clenched and armor cracked from the ongoing battle, made his way toward the alien ships. He wasn't going to wait to be ambushed. He was bringing the fight to them. The alien forces had nothing that could stop him now, but even he knew this battle was far from a one-man show. The new alien leader, with terrifying precision, summoned a surge of energy. He raised his hand and a blast of raw, concentrated force erupted from his palm, ripping through buildings and streets in a single sweep. The apex predators were momentarily staggered. This was no ordinary weapon. This was a display of power, so immense it could have torn apart entire armies in seconds. But the Reaper grinned. "You're strong," he said, eyes cold as steel, "but you're still prey." And with that, the battle for Earth entered its final phase. The ultimate showdown had begun. The stakes were higher than ever before, and humanity's survival hung in the balance. As the apex predators and the alien forces clashed in the heart of the city, it became clear. Earth wasn't just fighting to win. It was fighting to survive. And in this battle, survival meant more than just victory. It meant proving that the will to live, to adapt, to fight back, was stronger than any force in the universe. This wasn't just a war, it was a reckoning, and only one species would emerge victorious. Victory, but at what cost? The battlefield lay silent, save for the distant hum of alien ships retreating into the void, vanishing into the expanse of space as quickly as they had arrived. The air was thick with dust and the bitter scent of burned earth, the once bustling cities now reduced to smoldering ruins. Humanity had fought back. The apex predators had torn through the invaders with a ferocity that sent shockwaves through the galaxy. But as the dust settled, it became painfully clear that victory came with a price. The Reaper stood among the wreckage, his face expressionless, yet his eyes betrayed the weight of the battle. The alien leader, an embodiment of the perfect weapon, lay defeated at his feet, his immense power extinguished in a final, brutal strike. The world had won, but at what cost? The city, once a symbol of human achievement, was now nothing more than a memory reduced to rubble. The apex predators, though victorious, bore the scars of their struggle. The beast's massive frame was covered in burns and deep lacerations, his movements sluggish but determined. The ghost had sustained injuries, a crack in his armor revealing a bloodied arm beneath, though his piercing eyes never once lost their sharp focus. The fang had a gash running across his cheek, but his expression remained unreadable as always. The human cost was impossible to ignore. Thousands had perished in the chaos, the fallout from alien bombardments, and the devastation of a battle no one had been prepared for. The survivors walked through the wreckage, eyes filled with disbelief, unsure if the world they had fought to protect would ever be the same again. Families had lost loved ones. Entire communities had been wiped out in the blink of an eye. The apex predators, however, stood apart. They were the ones who had fought on the front lines, who had dealt the killing blows. They were Earth's saviors. But even they weren't untouched by the toll of war. They had seen the cost of victory firsthand, and yet there was no celebration. No triumphant cries. The silence that followed the war was deafening. Humanity had survived, but the truth was undeniable. This war had changed everything. The world they had saved would never be the same. The predators had dismantled an alien empire, but in the process, they had also witnessed the destruction of the very world they had fought to protect. The Reaper surveyed the devastation, his mind already calculating the next steps. The war was over, but the fight for humanity's future had just begun. They had defeated the aliens, yes. But now they were left with a broken world, scars that would never heal, and the knowledge that they had been on the brink of extinction. Could they rebuild? Could humanity rise from the ashes of its own destruction? The apex predators once, seen as nothing more than shadows and myths, had now become a symbol of humanity's strength, its resilience, and its capacity to survive. But as the last alien ships disappeared into the void, the Reaper knew one thing for certain. There was no going back. The cost of survival was steep, and what lay ahead was uncertain. But one thing was clear. Earth had survived. For now, and the apex predators? They had proven that even in the darkest of times, humanity's greatest weapon was its will to fight back. However, victory had come with a new reality. The universe was watching. And what Earth had done to survive, the rest of the galaxy would never forget. The battle was over, but the war had only just begun.